Welcome to the Emergency Traffic Podcast.
Hello again, and welcome to the Emergency Traffic Podcast. This is a bonus episode, one of our Tailboard talks, where we talk about various current affairs that firefighters may or may not be interested in. Today, we're going to cover the recent every 5 years Interschutz conference that one of our hosts, Dirk, attended. But first, we'll say hi to Dirk and Doug. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
What's new? You've been out camping a little bit, and you've been doing live fire training for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, did training, got away for a couple nights. Couldn't watch my son any longer going through summer school, math summer school. It was painful for him and for us, so we took off for a couple nights. Yeah, that was nice, just getting out. And then live fire, same problem there. It was hot for a few days, and we had to cancel a few afternoons because the humidity was just unbearable. But no, good training, well received. It was fun. It was a good 5 weeks.
Did you do anything special in live training or different, or so any new concepts? Did you do some more like, flow and go, or any stuff that you don't normally do?
Well, we introduced all this stuff quite a while ago. Like we still pushing hard for transitional attack, outside water, quick water. That's the main thing. Quick water. We're trying to get more guys into like doing a 360 initially, especially to rule out basement fire. So that was a big topic. So live fire was 3 runs, kind of like first floor, basement, second floor. We showed some clamp slides. That was the introduction to that nozzle forward stuff. And then we had a search and rescue component in there where we went into kind of like a walk up apartment. Pretty shitty visibility in there, so it's not super realistic, almost like worse than real life because we had the theater smoke in there. You couldn't see a thing. Even with the thermal imaging camera, it was hard because the temperature was pretty much
The
equal.
same. Oh
It was
yeah.
all the same. So it really just gray and gray. It was hard to make out corners and stuff like that. So yeah, but I mean, we used a dummy, and the dummy was pretty soaked, so that wasn't obvious.
Did you ever do you heat up your dummies? I know the guy in Souk there. He's got a sauna and he heats the dummies up first and then throws them in the room.
No, we did the opposite. We said, well, dummy's gonna be colder than the
Okay.
environment,
Well,
so
whatever.
it's just it doesn't show color. It wouldn't be showing any
Right.
color on our tick anyways. But no, that was good, and it was just like some techniques, kind of like we went away from all these fancy hasty sling drags that probably not going to work in zero visibility with fire gloves and stuff. So no, guys did really well. We did lots of dirty drags and keeping the head of the victim low to not pick them up and bring them back into the IDLH. And so yeah, no, it was well received. We did some ladder rescues, and so yeah, it was good. It was yeah, really good. Unfortunately, Doug missed it.
Well, Doug, speaking of hot and canceling training, Doug did some more heat, and he didn't cancel any training. I bet you in Texas, right, Doug? You were down there doing as an instructor at Texas A&M Industrial Fire School. Tell us
Yeah,
about that
well,
in July.
a couple weeks ago, I was down there doing teaching at their industrial week at the industrial annual fire school. It was about plus 45 most of the week we were training. So the chief of the fire school says in 18 years he's seen a black flag condition 7 times, and 2 of them were that week. So they use a flag system. Obviously, black's the highest one. We
Okay.
weren't really sure what that meant because Heath and I thought that black flag meant you stop training when the black flag goes up, but the black flag went up and we just kind of said, "Okay, let's go, next run."
And
And
you were
nobody
still
stopped
training,
us. Nobody stopped us, so
right?
I don't know what the flags mean other than it's hot. But
Maybe just
uh,
be more aware of your
yeah,
people and
maybe
make sure
yeah.
they're hydrating and
We
shade.
some groups maybe take longer breaks or whatever, but we just kept going and it was fine. I mean, it's hot, but it's not like I mean, you're wet from all the cooling water anyways, so you're not getting. I got more sunburnt and hurt at the pool than I did at the training ground. I
Right,
had
right.
the worst sunburn of my life. that
Oh no.
I'm
And then you
still
had to wear
feeling.
gear on top of it?
Yeah, thankfully I got the sunburn like the Saturday after I got there, and we were doing lots of classroom stuff and that, so I didn't have to actually like put an air pack on till like
Oh.
Thursday, because which was good, or else I would have been in pain. I was in pain anyways, so
Right,
it
right.
was,
Yeah.
it was good. It was nice with COVID shut down 2020, and then for the school for 2021, the border still wasn't open, so we couldn't go. So it was nice to, after 3 years, be able to go back and see all the other instructors that we teach with and some new ones, and it was a good time.
That's good. Yeah. Anything unique or something you want to talk about? Some moves you learned or industrial things that kind of popped into your head and said, hey, that's a good thing we need to pass on to everybody?
I mean, nothing really new. It's
No.
very different than my day to day job working in like the plant environment with all the students were from plants around Texas there, and it's different than what I do day to day. But I've been A&M like 10 times now doing it, so there's not a lot of new stuff that I come across. It's just very different than my day to day life. I mean, you're not. It's just different. You're not really putting the flame out with your water. You're just controlling the flame and controlling the heat and being able to get to the fuel source to shut it off is the
Right.
very different for a municipal firefighter, right? It's a completely different way of, and you can see everything, right? You're not crawling around in a smoky hot environment. You can
Outside.
you're standing up and advancing in, and yeah, it's very. I mean, you've been there. It's different than. So, yeah, but it was good. It's always nice to see in a week the group of students all kind of come together, and they work way better together at the end than the beginning because they've kind of formed a team kind of environment or whatever. But it's nice to see. We always say we're giving them the ultimate industrial fire school experience. That's our
Right,
little
right.
tagline for our group. So
I
it's
was thinking of Texas A&M, Bradenton Field there when the PEI they had that ferry fire last week. There was a ferry that caught fire leaving Nova Scotia to go to PEI, and I was wondering about, and I posed a thing on Facebook about, I wonder how many mutual aid fire departments have any kind of shipboard firefighter training. And I was thinking of Bradenton Field there. They have that the shipboard prop, and I remember going down and doing the engine room and stuff, and that was always interesting. And
yeah, we did.
just
We used it this week. We used that prop in the engine room.
yeah,
It was. It's always fun.
yeah, interesting.
It's the most like structural we can get, other than like this class also does actual structural firefighting runs, but it's like industrial liquid fire in a structure that's enclosed and smoky and dark, and it's but you're still not leading that kneeling down because then you're in the fuel, right? So
Right, right.
it's yeah. I mean, personally, I wasn't on that prop this year, but I have been before, and it's always a fun time.
I'd like to see that. I like that invitational concept that the fire school has, that they invite people from I don't know, across the state or even wider, I don't know, to come to a week where volunteer. I think the instructors all volunteer pretty well, except for the staff maybe.
Yeah, there's the full time TEEX staff is always there year round, and they're kind of facilitating or liaising for us. But like our group of instructors is all. I mean, lots of them are getting paid by their companies while they're there, but
Right, right,
no one's getting paid by the school while they're there. And I don't think any of the students get invited. I think the students are just paying to take the course there. It's
right.
the instructors that get invited by. Basically, you have to be invited by a current instructor to be able to go do it. So
Because they do a regular, like a municipal fire school similar, right?
yeah, every
Where
summer this summer like usually they have a week which is Spanish week, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's all Spanish instruction, and lots of South American countries send their firefighters there.
Right, right,
And then the week after that is industrial week, which is what I was there for. And then the next week after that is municipal week, which
right.
is municipal firefighters coming to. And there's like I was teaching 1081 interior, there's 1081 exterior, there's incident command, there's instructor, there's hazmat, there's tech rescue, there's uh, of
There's
course
pumping, right? Pumping too.
they
Yep.
had one of the refineries brought one of their trucks there for it looked like a concrete pump truck, but the boom went into the water and it was their drafting truck.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
then like that was different to see. And they have all these like uh, pumping trailers and pickup mounted monitors and giant industrial trucks that they draft out of the pond there and they spray the water back in, and it's tons of water. It's a sight to see. But you
I think
go
it'd
over there.
be cool if like our college did that here, where they had a week and you could pay your $500 or whatever and go and spend the week and pick your class. I was in Saskatchewan years ago, and that was a popular thing down there. Was you would go for a 3-day weekend and take a bunch of courses, and people would come from all over, and it was a bit of a party atmosphere at the same time after hours. But they did lots of training, and lots of friendships were built. And I'd be really cool if that we could get that going here at one of the local fire colleges. I was thinking.
If only like a guy's former fire chief ran the fire school and you can
I,
make a
I've
phone call.
I've already mentioned it to them, so you never know. Okay, well, speaking of big atmosphere, what's the attendance like there, Doug, at the industrial fire school, for example? Do you know?
Before COVID, there was about 1,000 students, and then this year there was about 700.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Speaking of big events, of course, which what we're gonna main topic for today, now that we caught up a little bit, is Interschutz. Dirk, you went to Interschutz in 2022 in Hanover in June. I went to Interschutz once in 2000. You and I didn't know each other, but apparently you were there as well. I went as a fire truck guy looking at trucks. But you want to tell us all about Interschutz and the similarities, the differences, the innovations, all that kind of stuff. I know you got
Sure.
a list of stuff. Tell us all about it. What's the
Yeah.
attendance? How big is Interschutz?
Oh, it really depends. I think the record year was 2015 when I went. Yeah, I went 20. I went in 2000 when you were there. I was still a firefighter in Germany, and then came to Canada. So then, 15 years later, finally made my way back there. And the attendance back then was 157,000 firefighters in those 5 days, I think. It was big. It was. I had 3 days, and I didn't even scratch the surface. So it's pretty impressive. This year, I was planning on up to 5 days, but because of COVID and the supply chain problems, a lot of the big manufacturers, truck manufacturers, they pulled out. So that's called Interschutz Light. And still 3 days wasn't quite enough. They had 85,000, just saw the number say 85,000 guests from 61 countries. And they had the 1,323 exhibitors. So lots to see, lots people to talk to. And for me, it was just cool to hang out with firefighters from all over the world. Met people that I only knew online, like those famous Facebook friends you never meet.
Right? Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I, I caught up with some of them. I met friends that I haven't seen in many, many years. And I actually went there with a friend from Barcelona, my friend Mark Sanchez. He came up to Germany. I picked him up and we drove out there and hung out for 4 days and just had a great time. We had fantastic hosts. Retired volunteer firefighter, electrician that
So
hosted
like
us.
a B&B or somebody you knew, or how did you get hosted?
Oh, totally crazy story. I met this guy, Peter, here in Edmonton. He knows a member of the Edmonton Fire Department for like 30 years. This guy used to work, I think he was in dispatch. and he's a collector. He's a military nut collector, and just by accident, he ran into Peter 30 something years ago, and they became friends. And then when Peter came up to Alberta here. I was asked if I want to show him the trucks and stuff like that. So I met him a couple times here, and then I mentioned, "Hey, I'm going to go to Hanover," and I knew his department by name, but I couldn't connect the dots. I didn't even know where that was. I never bothered checking. It was just cool to have somebody hanging out with and speaking your language again. And then when I said I'm gonna go to Interschutz, he's like, "You have no idea where my fire department is." And I'm like, "No, not really." He's like, "Yeah, you know what? It's a suburb of Hanover. That's where the volunteer fire department is." And then so he's like, "I basically live in Hanover. If you want to stay at my place, you're welcome." So I did. First time I went with a friend, and now second time I substituted the one friend for the other friend, and we had a blast. We met so many people. Yeah, it was super awesome.
That's nice. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. And then I like when Doug was saying like so many people from all over the country, or even Central America, South America, and they got their Spanish week there. It's just pretty cool. There, it was like everything was there, like the whole world. You went to, like, you look at PPE, for example. There was a booth, and they were from China. They didn't even speak English. I don't even know how they can sell stuff, but there were lots of Chinese people there too, right? Some Chinese firefighters and stuff. That was pretty cool. And I actually, speaking of industrial firefighting, I noticed this big boom truck, just massive. The outrigger span was mind-boggling, and it's like, this is weird. And so we checked it out, and then I was surrounded by their salesman, their sales rep, and I don't know, like 5 people, all Chinese, and they're taking pictures of me talking to the guys, and it's like, oh, I have no selling power. I'm just a little firefighter from Canada. But they showed me everything. So that was a really cool truck. You guys would love to see that. It was a 45-meter boom, and coming from the cement truck, like a cement pump, basically, and it had so many joints that you can basically up and down and over and under and whatever. And then I think the max output was 10,000 liters a minute.
Right.
So
Right.
that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So the Chinese company basically they just built the boom and the outriggers, and they put that on a Volvo chassis, and then somebody else can supply this thing. As Doug said, they got those massive industrial pumps and stuff like that. So that was super interesting on the first day. So
Yeah. Well, Schwing tried to sell some industrial trucks. The cement pump company.
mhm.
I know. I don't know if they anymore. I know there was one. I remember at FDIC one year there was one there. It got stuck up in the air on teardown. But yeah,
That
cool.
was cool. So I researched this company a little bit, and because I was wondering with that mass, I mean, in industrial, I imagine you have lots of space to set up. So for their maximum reach and maximum flow, you had to have the full setup. I saw in their manual that you can go 3 meters. That's the minimum setup, but then you can only go straight out over
Right.
top of the truck, basically, and flow. So that was pretty cool. And then yeah, so the rest was stuff, whatever, electric fire truck was a big one. Um,
Yeah.
all kinds
So
of
what did you see over there about electric fire trucks?
something I was thinking of you there, because there was a company from Scotland that built the first full electric fire engine, and it was a typical British fire engine with the ladders on the rear, just pushed on top, and like booster reels and all this stuff, and high pressure pumps. And the name of the company was Emergency One.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
I was
Yeah.
like,
You're right.
you guys affiliated with E1 in the
Nope.
States? And they're like, nope,
Nope.
not, it's a different, I know the lettering is different or whatever, but it's a different company. But he said, interesting fact, fun fact is that their drivetrain, the electric drivetrain, they're selling this to E1, and they're putting their their pumper truck on top of that.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember E1's. It's not Lightning, Volt, something Volt or Lightning.
I can't remember what they call it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It
But
is
anyhow,
both.
so
Toronto's buying two. I saw
yes,
it
yeah.
on the social media feed.
Yeah.
that Toronto wants to buy 2 electric fire trucks. I think E1.
Yeah,
E1
the
is
E
not
ones. Yeah.
using. They're not using lithium-ion batteries. They're using, I don't know what, something else. Like, I know.
Whatever the Scots have, because that is exactly what they are selling also. Emergency one sells to E1, which I thought was funny.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. Then good thing I had my Spanish friend with me, because there was a Spanish company and they did not speak English well at all. But I had my translator, um, and they had an electric fire truck for the city of Seville,
Mm,
super small, and their idea was a separate pump battery electric just for the pump. They guaranteed 9 hour running time on 4 lithium ion battery packs, and they had them stored on the rear compartments with a winch system. So you could pull them out. They're pull-out trays. They have a little winch. You can lift it up, lower it down, so you can call your service truck and ask for more batteries if you have more running time than those 9 hours. I thought it was really interesting. They had this thing running 24/7 at the Interschutz exhibition. They're just flowing water, and it was a two-stage pump. They said it doesn't matter if you're in low pressure, high pressure. It's 9 hours guaranteed.
right.
So that was yeah,
Cool.
that was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Did you see any hydrogen engine trucks there? I think the UK is trying some somewhere. I know a lot of the engine manufacturers are, well, of course they're losing business if nobody's buying engines anymore. So they're developing hydrogen engines. I know somebody just unveiled one again yesterday online, but I think there's some. Did you see any hydrogen powered trucks there?
I haven't noticed anything, but again, it was Interschutz Light, so might have been like the manufacturer not ready for
Right,
that. Because usually the Interschutz should have been in 2020. So
right,
then they made it 2 years later, and they announced there that the next Interschutz is going to be 2026. So in 4 years,
yeah,
I'm guessing another 4 years from then, they are back to their 5 year
right.
increments, and
They're
2030 would be
bridging
the
down
next one.
slowly. Yeah,
Yeah. But then I'll be retired. So
yeah. So then you'll have lots of time to go.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that was yeah. Again, then lots of manufacturers for fire suppression system, all this stuff. So more boring stuff. Let's say, and then the whole technical rescue stuff and emergency medical services, because most European countries and are integrated, like they do fire and EMS. So lots of ambulances and medical stuff. It was interesting, but for me, I think I'm past my EMS prime. So
so, an apparatus, any other unique apparatus? I mean, I know there's that town down east in New Brunswick that bought a 50 or 60 foot ladder on a 1 ton or a Super Duty chassis. Did you see any
nothing.
other unique trucks like that, or tanks, or robots? What about robots? You see any robots?
Oh, yeah, for the industrial, yeah, for
Yeah.
the industrial setting, those turbine water
Oh,
cannons.
like the
They,
Drago. Yeah,
they look
yeah,
like the snow can
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah,
ski
yeah, yeah.
hills, right? But then with thermal engine camera, they got booms on there. Everything is remote controlled, so you can actually do work within a industrial plant. Some of them had attachments where you can move barrels and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, lots of. I wouldn't call them robots, because for me, a robot does stuff on their own. It's more like it's remote
Well, I think
controlled.
didn't LA buy a robot, Doug? Like a little 2 tracks, pulls a 65 or a 2.5 inch line. It's got a monitor on it. Do you remember? Thought I
Well, I
saw that.
mean, they bought whatever that is. I mean, using Dirk's analogy of a robot does stuff by itself, well, that's not really a robot. It's just a remote control car that is for
Kind of like a
firefighting.
remote control monitor, right?
Yeah,
Really is what it is. Yeah, except it moves itself too, and
yeah,
a little dozer blade on the front or
yeah.
something too for pushing in. You see any of those there, Dirk?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
tons. Yeah, there
yeah.
were lots. I took some videos and stuff. Maybe we can share it on our Facebook page there.
Sure, sure.
Um, yeah, so there was some stuff of that. Industrial fire trucks, of course, they are always massive. Like everybody thinks the European trucks are tiny, but they can be pretty big. And since they don't have custom chassis, everything
Right.
is right. So they are. pretty high. I always joking they need fall protection just to climb in and out because
Yeah,
those are big rigs, right?
right. That's the problem. I mean, that's the big difference, right, between Europe and North America, or the rest of the world and North America, is the custom cab fire apparatus versus a commercial cab over
Yeah,
or engine forward, one of the two. And the biggest challenge with those with a commercial cab is climbing in and out of the cab over the wheel, right?
yeah, yeah.
So it can be tough, and if it's got a big power plant, then it's going to have big wheels, and or if it's all-wheel drive, or
Right. Yeah.
where do you,
And then
where do you,
airport firefighting, I think that's something I don't know anything about, and I don't think you guys know much about it. But those rigs are so impressive. Just the turnout times, the horsepower they got. I guess I don't think there was anything under 1,000 horse for
well,
engine
yeah,
configurations, right?
ICAO and FAA have a speed requirement for 0 to 60 or 0 to 100
Yeah.
that's really hard to meet. So you have to have a lot of power
Right.
to meet that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played with airport trucks a little bit years ago.
Cool.
The nice thing about an airport truck is you can just come out of the fire hall and go. There's
Yeah.
nothing in your way. Drive over the grass, drive over the runway, drive over whatever you want. Like usually, if you're out there doing something, the airport's pretty much shut down. You're not dealing with traffic and pedestrians and red lights and whatever. It's
Yeah.
just
You
oh
just want to get there. Yeah. Yeah, you just want to get there. Yeah, so those are always impressive, and like the simplicity of the operation. Like you only need one firefighter basically to operate all the monitors and all this stuff. But they were always cool to look at. Very impressive was the Rosenbauer booth. It was probably one of the biggest when it came to trucks and technology,
don't
and
tell Paul that. Paul will get too excited.
yeah,
Well, they are the largest manufacturer in the world. I think that's what we used to
yeah.
say anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for Europe, again, North America and Europe very different. But the European ones was awesome. Like they had what I really like was the virtual training. They had a driving simulator that was pretty cool, um, and an aerial simulator that it was fantastic. I got actually a little bit sick there, motion sickness, because it was so realistic. You got your VR goggles on, and they actually had a bucket, like a platform off the aerial where you can step in, and then you look down, you get the joysticks, and then they turn to your hands, and it was super cool. And you can create your own scenario, like city, industrial, rural, whatever you want, high rise, and then you can set up construction sites, piles of dirt, and everything in there, and then you can look around like you're standing right there, and then you can point to your you can point to the spot where you want to set up the turntable, and then you can basically um, beam yourself into the bucket, and then you operate it. And it was just mind-boggling. Again, I got motion sickness because it was pretty realistic, but you don't feel the actual motion. So you had to look at the aerial when it was
See
extending.
if it's moving.
You couldn't feel it, right? So that was different, and because you were standing, it just affected you totally differently. But it was really cool. Like I don't know if you know Star Trek when you go into the holodeck. That was exactly it. They created a holodeck. Once you came within 3 feet of a wall, you could see the lines. They kind of like, hey, you're leaving the scenario here. So yeah, that was super cool.
I think that the whole virtual training thing from basic incipient firefighting in an industrial setting, you know, versus firefighter one training it's gonna be going virtual, right? I mean, how do you do it within the tower? I mean, if you look at a big city that has a propane powered tower, it's sort of virtual firefighting because the fire is controlled by the propane, not by the firefighters. But how do we put which, and it's good and bad, and then all the way up to pump operator training, aerial operator training, command training. I was chatting with a friend of mine who happens to be the dean of a big college here about the UK's blended They're doing a lot of blended training now for command, and they do videos. And they're doing some from their stations too, right? You can do training ahead of time, and then you go into the lab. Which of course that's the old blue card is sort of like really basic, but the VR is I think that's going to be a big thing moving forward. So you saw a lot of VR stuff there.
Yes, yeah.
Driver training, like
Driver training, aerial training, and then virtual firefighting, which is I thought it was goofy, but they made it.
Did you
Oh
try
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Dirk?
yeah. We tried it. Again, I got a couple of videos. I filmed my friend Mark putting out a propane fire. So if you, the nice thing, the way he explained it is like, yeah, I know it's not realistic, but I cannot have a realistic propane tank exploding on you when you don't extinguish the fire properly or control it properly, right? And that if you do that wrong, that thing explodes at you, but you're not getting hurt. So it was cool in a way. I still like the real thing, but I get it. Like tactics, strategies, stuff like that. Why not going virtual? It's
Well,
probably not
and
a bad
even
thing.
driving or operating the aerial, I know that I play a game, Snow Runner, a game on the PS4, and the realism of how the vehicle behaves in the game is incredible. Traction or rolling over or bumping into something, and so I think that's going to come into the driver training as how they get that feel. I know. Paul Spate, the chief or watch manager in Leicestershire, he does lots of VR, and they've got a van, and the people ride in this van and they watch the video, and that way they get the motion and they drive around. And I've only seen posts of it, but I think that's going to be where it's going. Have you played with any of that virtual stuff, Doug?
No.
No, haven't tried.
That's a straight up no, and I will never try it.
Well, it's not that I never will. It's just that I've never really been around it. I've never been had the opportunity to do it.
Well,
So
2026, Doug,
yeah.
2026, we can all go.
Well, I
We'll
know
take.
Yeah, well, Calgary's got that training truck, right? A driver. They have they bought a driver training apparatus with two simulators in the back or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, I think it looks like a rescue truck, and then they have two
right.
seats in there. You can do the driver training. That's not bad. The aerial gentleman there that showed me the virtual training, he made a good point because I asked what's the cost for this, because you had this big setup with all the sensors, and they had the basket there. He said without the basket, which would it's a little bit to the cost there, but he said 60,000 euros, which is roughly that's called 100,000
Yeah,
Canadian.
more or
Um,
less.
and I said, well, that's pretty expensive. He said, yeah, but how expensive is it when two of your students uh, drive that aerial into a building, for
Yeah,
example, right? For
yeah,
rescue operations. It's like good point.
yeah. Look at
So it's something to practice, and again for us, we have a training tower, or you drive around, but you cannot set up your area wherever you want it. So it's not very realistic training. You do a lot of parking lot setups, but that's not the same as a building. And there you can create your own world, right? A virtual world. So that was super cool. Yeah. And then the best thing about Interschutz is just meeting people and drink lots of beer. That was probably the main thing. The bigger the booth, the bit better the catering. Like they had caterers everywhere. You start talking to somebody, and then this beautiful young lady comes up. She's like, would you like some water or some coffee or pop or a beer? Oh, you got
yeah.
beer? Okay, that's it. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Sure, let's have a beer. So
Yeah, it's a different world that way. But
it
speaking of
is, yeah, very.
differences, speaking of differences, like licensed in North America, it would be called to drink alcohol at a trade show, but you do it at a football game and everything now. So it's all changing, over the years. So what about differences in the firefighting stuff? Did you see between North America, Europe, maybe the Middle East, Asia? Did did you identify anything besides the helmet?
So yeah, the giveaway. I I get the feeling that the Europeans are coming closer to whatever UL and FSRI come up with, like straight stream, lower pressure, higher flow, because they're running into the same problems that we do. The heat release rate is insane. For them, the structure is less of a problem
Right.
because it's rarely involved. But the building construction changes too. There's more and more wood being used to build houses. So down the road, they might encounter the same thing. I know Sweden uses still lots of wood. You look at Stockholm; it's a wooden city. So it's interesting to see that everybody was really on this high pressure, low flow stuff, and now we're getting away from it again. Um, but the high pressure, low flow, when you look at the Swedish system, is really designed for, you pull up to a structure fire with 4 guys, and the next rig is, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes away. So they had to make do with or make up for the lack of staffing with more technology. So hence the Cobra extinguishing system, the fog nail, the high pressure, low flow, because you're limited with your water as well, right? So I think we're gonna move closer together as a fire service. I think that's a positive about the whole social media. There's more interaction and the exchange of information, and yeah, we're getting closer together. The
Well,
Dutch did a whole bunch of research here last year, I think, or 2 years ago. Also, Burns, very similar to UL in this, and they came to the same conclusions. Limit your ventilation till you have water on the fire. More water is beneficial. So yeah, it's interesting. So I talked to a Dutch gentleman, Hans Nieling is his name, and he's really pushing hard for low flow nozzles. Um, uh, Same as
low
everybody
pressure,
else.
you mean?
Low pressure,
Low
high
pressure.
flow. Yeah, low
Yeah.
pressure,
Low
high flow.
pressure,
Yeah,
high flow. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, everybody, I mean, we have lots of staffing issues here. We can see it from the LOD reports that we do, right? The LODD reports where the staffing just isn't there. All these fire departments, what was it? One of the ones in the Okanagan, the union going after the department saying, like, our staffing's too low. We're not responding adequately to meet NFPA. Shoot, the major city in
yeah.
Alberta here saying the same thing. So
Yeah. So
interesting.
yeah, we were moving close together, which is awesome. That's why this whole like going to those exhibitions or conferences is fantastic. The only thing that Interschutz doesn't have is really the conference part. They do have some, but that's more on the chiefs level and kind of like on the federal level for the German fire service. But really, that's all gold people in there.
Which that's the
Like,
difference than FDIC, right? FDIC is primarily training with a trade show, whereas this is really a trade show with just a little bit of training. Yeah.
yeah, I think there's more and more departments around Hanover that kind of combine those two. They put on like a hands-on training, and then everybody goes to the Interschutz.
Right.
That's something that's coming up more and more. It was just all shut down due to COVID for a while, so it's gonna in 4 years, that 2026. I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be massive again. So I'm looking forward going there again. I hopefully one or two of you guys can come. Maybe Zach finds time and money. It is time consuming. It's not cheap. Flying right now is a pain in the butt. Um, but it's just fun.
Hang on a minute. Let me ask my wife. I'm gonna go to Europe to look at fire trucks. Not. Yeah.
Well, we gotta sell it to them, right, Doug?
That's right.
Oh, honey, you always wanted to go to Italy. You know what?
Right.
Italy and Germany are very close together. You just sneak away for 4 or 5 days, and then you go back. Like that's how you gotta sell it. So, where does your wife want to go, Paul?
Well, anywhere. Yeah, anywhere but here. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
You always
guys.
have to go anywhere there isn't a fire truck, though.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Yep. So.
They're everywhere, though.
That's right. They're everywhere. Okay, guys, that's a great wrap up. Any final thoughts here on our tailboard? It was a good catch up and discussion.
No, it was
No, it's
interesting
cool.
to hear about Interschutz as much as I'm a not European fire fan, but I'm sure it's a good trade show and lots to see and do, and I'm sure maybe one day I'll actually get to go and maybe it'll change my mind. I don't know.
It's not about changing minds, Doug. It's just learning from other people. That's it. If we can learn something and implement it here, that's fine. But I think right now it's actually the opposite. Except for our helmets, they will never go for that. But whatever's implemented in North America, I think most Europeans want to follow. So
Okay, I got one big question for you, Dirk.
yes,
Did you see any Q2B sirens on the bumper, wind up, real mechanical sirens.
Actually, I did.
Ah!
I think I shared that picture with you. This old aerial truck, and
Oh, old.
I was pretty sure you sold it actually because they had the Fire Fit. They had Fire Fit Europe there, the Comet Challenge, and
That's
they
the Polish trucks from E1, I think maybe. I don't know. Oh, that was a different one. That
maybe
was a different one.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed this Tailboard Talk with Emergency Traffic Podcast. We'll talk to you all again on the next episode.
Stay safe.